How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Positive Mindset Podcast, where we come together to raise our vibration, lift our perspective, and build that positive mindset. My name is Henry, and I'm so glad to have each and every one of you here today because in this episode, we're going to talk about growth, expansion, how to move into your positive era. And if you're interested in that, this is going to be the episode for you. But before we get started, we're going to take a few moments to slow down, zero in. We're going to take some deep, healing, meditative breaths to help us align on the frequency that we want in our lives. So pick a word. It could be love, joy, happiness, abundance, whatever frequency you want. And we're going to take a deep breath in. And as you're breathing in, you're going to say that word over and over and over. You're going to really charge yourself up with that energy. And then as you're holding your breath, visualize yourself doing something in that frequency. And once you exhale, anything that no longer resonates with you will leave you and you'll be in a more positive state. So let's go ahead and take a deep breath in. And out. We're going to take another deep breath. This one's about alignment, about getting ourselves in receiving mode so that we can receive the message that we need to hear to get us in that positive perspective. So just imagine that you are surrounded by the most healing, uplifting energy that's meant specifically for you. It could have a certain color, a certain taste, a certain smell, however you imagine it. And when you breathe it in, it's going to charge you up. It's going to break down the negativity, the blocks, the weight, everything that's just been holding you back. And once you exhale, anything that no longer resonates with you will leave you and you'll be in a more positive state. So let's go ahead and take a deep breath in. And out. Well, before we get started, if there's something that you enjoy or there's something that shifts your mind from this episode, if you're on Spotify or YouTube, you can actually leave a comment below. Not only does that help me know what you take away from each episode, but somebody else might read your comment and it might inspire them to give this episode a listen. I want to make this the #1 mindset podcast in the world, and the best way to do that is together. So whether you leave a comment or share this with somebody that you believe it would be impactful for, it means the world to me, and I could never thank you enough. But let's dive into today's episode. So growth is an interesting thing. When you're growing, you almost feel the opposite. When you're growing expansively, when you're moving your mindset, your frequency, you actually start facing a lot of issues. It's like opening your eyes. You see everything as you grow. And when you do that, you also start seeing what's wrong. You start seeing the lack. You see, you could call it your failures, your setbacks, your limitations, whatever you want to call them. You start seeing them. And when you do, the weight of them all of a sudden really becomes in the forefront, where they've subconsciously been there preventing you. Now you see them, you see how they affect you, and that can be a big barrier. But you have to understand that is growth. It's just like exercise. When you're lifting weights, you want the body to fail. You want to do those sets where you can't do anymore, where you hit the limit, because when you recover, you grow a little bit stronger and you can do a little bit more. But you see, the lifting never gets easier. You just do more weight. So your growth never stops feeling like growth. That's why we must learn to love the process. You see, the process is really gratitude. When you break it down, it's ultimately building gratitude within. Gratitude is not just saying what you're thankful for. So when you think of like Thanksgiving and people say, I'm thankful for my family or I'm thankful for my job, that's not the full power of gratitude. Gratitude is actually connecting to energy. When you look at a scenario and there's 9 negative things and 1 positive one, when you connect to that positive one, that's the act of practicing gratitude, because what you focus on expands. And that's why growth can be difficult for so many people, because you open your eyes, you start seeing the issues, you start seeing what's been preventing you from expanding into your positive energy. But remember, what you focus on expands. So you start seeing them, and you can possibly expand them more if you don't have the proper guidance or know how to stay focused on the positive. It doesn't mean that you just ignore everything in your life. It just flip the script. If you see one negative, make sure you see 9 other positive things, even if you create them in your mind. Whether you see it externally or think it in your mind, it's the same. If there's a tree in front of you and you look at the tree, and then you close your eyes and you imagine the tree, it's the same picture of the tree. It exists because of you. The thoughts exist because of you. The frequency that they represent exists because of you. So this is how we grow. We look to the positive, expand it. We look to the positive, expand it. But you see, I had something really interesting happen today. My wife, she set up, it's called Stitch Fitch. It's like where they, designer or something, put your clothes together and they send them to you and you can keep what you want. So it's like a mail delivery service for clothes, because I wear the same clothes all the time, or I basically just buy more gym clothes because that's what I live in essentially, because I love them. But I need some nicer clothes and I wouldn't buy them myself. So if it was me, I would just go to whatever store and just buy what I bought always. And I haven't really expanded in my wardrobe. So she wanted me to get it to try something new, to treat myself. So she set up the account, she put in all the stuff, and the order came today. And so I tried it on, and they were nice clothes. Usually I would say more expensive than I would probably buy myself, because I just don't normally think about the value in clothes. But they put them on, and it felt so good to wear something nice that I realized that there's a frequency shift in seeing yourself in something different. That's why the circle of influence is so important. But to get to the next level, you have to visualize it and receive it, because what you focus on expands. So if you want to grow, you have to do things like that. You have to try on the clothes of the version of you that you want to become. You have to test out the car of the version of you that you would have. You have to get around the people, the friends that version of you would have, because what you focus on expands. Again, this is why gratitude is so important. You are an observer and a creator. You create more of what you observe. It's that simple. So start observing the good. Use your gratitude mind, your positive mindset of mind, to find those in every situation. It doesn't mean you won't have difficulties. It doesn't mean you won't struggle. Of course you will. Of course you'll be sad. Of course you'll probably have tears. Of course you're going to have letdowns, hurt, pain. Those will always happen. That's this experience. But you have the ability to see it from all sides. You can feel the pain, but still use the power of gratitude, that positive mindset that you have. You can still use that to still find the good in every situation. I use this as an example a lot. Imagine you go through a traumatic life, and this may be what your life has been. Maybe it was childhood trauma or something, you just went through something extremely painful, hurtful. It'd be hard to say, well, that's a gift, right? Because it caused you so much pain. But now imagine that you start healing, you start growing, you start forgiving, you start living as the true self, everything that you went through. And then you meet somebody that has gone through the same pain or something similar as you. And they see you and they're like, you're so healed. How are you okay? And you start telling them what you did to heal. You start living as the example so they can see what they can become. And then they grow and they heal. That is a gift to them, right? Because you are the being, the energy that helped them heal and grow and move closer to love. So if you're able to give that gift, that means the experience that you had, even the negative one, is still a gift. Because it allowed you to give love that could only be created because the pain that you've had to somebody else that could only receive that type of love. That's practicing gratitude. If you become that person, you're impossible to stop. If you become that person, you're within, your internal self is powerful, is connected to source. When you can do that with every situation, not be concerned about how it affects you, but focusing on how there's good in it, how healing can come from it, how forgiveness, growth, whatever energy that you need can come from it and go to others, you become unstoppable. You become part of the change. You become this elevating force of high frequency. And the best part about becoming of that is that you receive it because you're in flow state, meaning you're giving as you're receiving. It's a powerful way to be. You don't have to start the river. You join the river. You become one with it and you flow with the river of that high energy. That's what happens. So let's continue to use our mind. Tap into that power perspective. Use gratitude and become the rising tide that lifts all ships. Well, thank you so much for listening. I hope this episode was impactful and gave you a positive perspective on what you can do to shift and get into that gratitude energy and live that positive life. If you want to make sure you don't miss a single episode, make sure you subscribe to my email list. There's a link down below. It will keep you up to date with every single episode. And if you want to follow me on social media, there's my Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook group all down below. So I appreciate all the follows there. And if you want to level up, if you're listening to this podcast and you want to make a shift, you want to work with like-minded individuals or me personally, you can do that. I'm a mindset coach. I have one-on-one coaching available, and I also have my program, Freedom Fundamentals. Both are great avenues. If you want more information on that, the best way to reach me would be Instagram, or there's a link down below. If you fill that out, I will get back to you as soon as possible. Well, thank you so much for listening. Have a great day, and I can't wait to talk to you next time.